Did you guys really think I would go through all this effort to make this headpiece and then only use it in one video? Hi everyone, my name's Chloe, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for being here today. Today's video is going to be my Marvelathon reading recommendations. So, first things first, what is Marvelathon? If you don't know, where have you been? Marvelathon is a readathon which is going to be running from the 1st to the 30th of June, and it is hosted and created by the lovely Lisa. I'm going to link her channel down below and also her original announcement video where you'll get all the information you need. But basically it is a readathon that is based around Marvel, Marvel Comics, Marvel films, all things Marvel, superheroes and villains in some cases. And in this readathon we have teams, which also means we have team captains. So the captains for this readathon are Team Black Widow, and the leader for that one is Lisa. Team Loki, the leader for that one is Becca. Team Shang-Chi, the leader for that one is Liv. And then we have Team Black Panther, and the leader is Jem. And then we also have, obviously, the best team, the most important team, the winning team, you may say, which is Team Scarlet Witch, which, as you may be able to guess, I am the team leader for that one. So, if you are on Team Scarlet Witch, you have made the right decision. If you're on another team, think about defecting. Come over to the winning team. If you've not made your mind up yet, hopefully this video will help to sway you towards, again, the correct choice. The fighting talk comes out when we start talking about Marvelathon. I'm not going to go through all of the rules and things like that in this video because I'm going to leave everyone else's videos linked below. You will find everything you need to know in Lisa's video and also in the team captains videos where we all reveal our prompts for our individual teams. But essentially there are general prompts and there are team specific prompts. In this video I'm going to go through mainly the general ones and these ones specific to Team Scarlet Witch. I am possibly going to give some recommendations to some of the other teams because although I don't understand why you would want to pick one of the other teams, I do have some books that would fit some of those prompts. So if you have made bad choices, I can still help you out a little bit. So let's just get started, shall we? I have kind of prepared for this. I have things in mind that I want to talk about, but I have not prepared in the way that I have not pulled anything off my shelves. So we're going to do this kind of have I got that book style, and we're just going to go and grab stuff off my shelves and see how much of a mess I end up in by the end of this video. Also, I'm pretty sure I'm going to pick like one book and just mention it for pretty much every prompt. It shows you how versatile some of these books are. No matter which team you picked, hopefully you made the right choice. So remember, Scarlet Witch. Okay, so let's talk about the general prompts. I will actually put up some graphics here that Liv created because I completely forgot to add them in my announcement video. So now you should actually be seeing a representation of these prompts, which will make it a lot easier. But first up, we have got Captain America, read a 5-star prediction. Obviously, I can't really give you a recommendation for this. It is completely subjective. I do have things that I am planning on reading for this, but I'm going to leave that for my TBR, which will be going up next week. So yeah, book you think is going to be 5 stars. Some people may go into every book thinking it's going to be a 5 stars. I love that optimism. That is not me. I know there's some books I'm just not going to love quite as much, but yeah, if you think it's going to be a 5-star, it works for Captain America. Next up, we have X-Men, which is to read a book with dysfunctional or found family. I have a couple of recommendations for this, and I don't think anyone's going to be surprised because the two that I'm going to talk about are from two of my favourite authors that I will always talk about. Let me just go and grab them. I say 2 books, I've actually picked up 3. But first up, we have got Loveless by Alice Oseman. This features a character called Georgia who goes to university and starts figuring things out about her identity when she hears the terms aromantic and asexual. And I really, really adore this book, and it does definitely have a found family vibe to it because obviously when you're at uni and you're living away from home, your friends kind of become your family, and that is very much what this is. And it is dysfunctional at times as well. There's definitely some arguments that go on in this book. But yeah, I recommend this one to anyone to read. So had to get it in there. And then on the lines of recommending books to anyone to read, anything by Casey McQuiston, pretty much. One Last Stop in particular has great found family vibes. There's a bunch of flatmates again who all kind of live together, and it's just adorable. I love the way that Casey McQuiston writes sort of friendship groups and things like that. And also for anyone who maybe has recently hauled this book but hasn't read it yet, her new book, I Kiss Shara Wheeler, definitely has a little found family vibe going on in there as well. It's one of my favourite things about this book, and this is one of my favourite books I've read so far this year, so definitely going to recommend this one as well. I will say this one is their YA debut, so a little bit of a younger age range, but still very much reads like all of Casey McQuiston's other books, so if you liked their other books, you'll probably enjoy this one as well. We've got my favourites in there right off the bat, and I already know that some of my other favourites are going to get mentioned later because I've already planned this. We're doing well. Next up, we have Captain Marvel, which is to read a book with a female protagonist. I'm not going to give you too many options for this because that's a lot of books. All the books I've just mentioned count for that. Basically, the Case McQuiston book I didn't talk about is the only one that doesn't have a female protagonist. Obviously, there are tons of books that fit this, but anything that has a female protagonist, so main character is female. Obviously, you can also have books that have dual POVs and one male, one female, one non-binary, whatever you want to do. As long as it's got a female protagonist in there, you're on a winner for this one. Then we have got Miles Morales, which is to read a graphic novel. Now, I'm not going to grab the ones I'm going to recommend because they are on my very top shelf and I cannot reach them. But obviously, this can be any graphic novel. It completely depends on what you enjoy reading. Ones that I read sort of in the last year that I particularly enjoyed are On a Sunbeam by Tilly Walden and the first volume of Lore Olympus, and the name of that author is escaping me right now. So either of those would work. The easiest way to fulfill this prompt is to read a Marvel comic, obviously. I'm actually planning on reading 5 Scarlet Witch comics during this readathon because you'll see that they work for other prompts later on. And yeah, obviously getting in the spirit of things, why not read some Marvel? That will definitely fulfill this prompt. Next up, we have Iron Man, which is to read a Paul picked book. Again, can't really give you any specific recommendations for this. Up to you how you want to do it. If you want to put all things that you're planning on reading anyway and then just pick which one you're reading next, or if you want to put a mixture of things that you are interested in and things that terrify you, feel free to do that. Use the polls to your advantage however you want to do that. I will probably pick a load of books that fit other prompts and just use it to pick which one I read next or which one I add to my set TBR that month. That's how we're going to do it here. And then the last general prompt is Thanos, which is to read a book that intimidates you. Again, I could not give you a recommendation for this. This recommendations video is a lot of me saying I can't recommend things. I will have proper recommendations in a minute. But again, what intimidates you can be very different to what intimidates me. I know that for a lot of people it can be to do with the length of a book, it could be read a classic, it could be just read something that's been on your TBR for ages and you've been putting off. I will say that for myself I have 2 options that I'm considering for this one. So the first one being if this comes up on my TBR, because for anyone who watches my TBR game you may know that some of my friends have put books on there that may come up at any point that I have to read. So if this one comes up, that's definitely a book that intimidates me and will fit actually other prompts. So not the worst time for this one to come up, but definitely one that intimidates me. It's one that I never really thought I would be reading until Liv told me that I would be at some point this year. And then the other one that intimidates me, but for completely different reasons, is because I'm worried that I'm going to hate it when I loved this author's other book, and that is Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. I really enjoyed The Night Circus. I know this is very different from The Night Circus. I like to hope that it will still be a 5-star read for me. It sounds like the type of book I would enjoy, but I'm very worried that I won't like it, and that will upset me greatly. Hence why this intimidates me. Okay, we do also have power-ups, but again, I'm not really going to give you specific recommendations for those because these are kind of extras to add in with other prompts that you are doing. So we've got POC rep, disability rep, LGBTQ plus rep, a book of over 500 pages, and a book that includes your team colour. Now, I can give you some that include my team colour. So my colour is red, as you can possibly tell. I've already held up a book that has red on the cover. For this chunker, it's got red sprayed edges, this version that Liv kindly gifted to me. But a few of my favourites also have a lot of red books. So I'm not going to pull them all out, but you can see the Victoria Schwab shelf behind me. She has a red, white and black colour scheme. So a lot of her books have red on them. We've also got my favourite book that I read last year and my second favourite book that I read last year, both by the same author. I'm going to have some other red covered books that are going to come up in my next recommendation, so I will point those out as and when I get to them. But yeah, red is a fairly easy colour to find on books, so I'm sure there are endless suggestions for that. I'm sure there are plenty of things that you guys have on your TBR. Okay, so onto the actual team prompts. So these prompts are the most important ones because these are the ones that get you the most points, and I'm sure these are what have helped a lot of people pick what team they're going to be on. One of the big prompts for my team, for Team Scarlet Witch, is to read a book with witches in the title or story. Now, I am not actually a massive witchy book reader, which may sound strange considering I picked Team Scarlet Witch. I really enjoy the character, but I don't necessarily read a lot of books with witches in. That being said, I'm open to reading a lot more. So what I'll do is I'll tell you a couple that I have read, and then I'm going to tell you some that I kind of have on my radar that I plan on maybe reading this month. Like I said, I haven't actually planned my TBR yet. I have vague ideas of things that I could get to, but I haven't filmed my TBR, I haven't played TBR Mash. So until I've done that, I'm a little bit all over the place. So I'm just going to give you ideas of ones that I maybe want to read. So let me go and grab a couple and I will be back with you in momentarily. Okay, camera angle might have changed. I might have accidentally knocked the camera. But I have gone and picked some witchy books. Some that I have read, some that I haven't. So let's start off with one that I've read, actually one that I don't have because I unhauled it. I can see why people would love this book, and that is Once and Future Witches by Alex E. Harrow. Not my favourite. There's something to do with Alex E. Harrow's writing that I just don't gel with. I've read 2 of her books and I don't love either of them, but would definitely work for this prompt. So definitely a recommendation. Let's go on to some that I do actually have to hold up and show you. I'm not going to go too much into what these books are, I'm just going to tell you that they would work, and if you're intrigued by any of them, feel free to look them up, but there's too many here for me to talk about to be able to tell you the synopsis of each and every one. Okay, the first one is a little bit stretching, but not really. So Lisa has said, stretch the prompts as much as you need to. Now, when people think witchy books, they think they have to go fantasy, or at the very least, like a contemporary with a fantasy element. I'm going to show you a book that could not be more contemporary if it's tried, a contemporary romance that would definitely work for this prompt, and that is Take a Hint, Danny Brown. So this is the second book in the Brown Sisters trilogy. You don't have to have read the first one. They are companions. You can read them separately if you want to. But if you've read the first one, or if you just want to read the first one, feel free. It's a great book. It would fit disability rep actually, so it'd work for some of the others. But I'm just going to tell you that in the first line of this book, it says, the night was ripe for witchy business. Basically, although this is a contemporary, the main character in this is actually a practicing witch. She is Wiccan, I believe. So definitely falls into this prompt. So yeah, if you want a contemporary option to still read witchy books, have a look into this one. Next up, we have one that's kind of halfway because it's still an adult romance, but it has got more fantasy elements to it, although I'd still call it a contemporary really. That is The XX by Erin Sterling. This one I read last year. I really enjoyed it. It is a rom-com with witchy vibes to it. I would recommend this one as well if you want that slightly more light-hearted witch book. If you want some YA witch books, why not read Carry On by Rainbow Rowell? This is set at a magic school. We have witches in here. The main character's best friend is a witch, and also one of the love interests is as well, and I love this series, so any of the books in this series, no matter where you're up to, if you're already reading it, would definitely work for this prompt. And then the last one I can find on my shelves that I've already read, I actually am planning on reading the sequel to this month, and that is The Ravens by Cass Morgan and Danielle Page. This is a book about 2 girls in college who are in a sorority where all of the sorority are witches, and it's about one of them joining this sorority and finding out more about her powers, and it was a fun read, so why not carry on the sequel during this month of witchy reads. So yeah, the second one's called The Monarchs, and I will be reading that one. But if you've not read any of them yet, start with The Ravens. It's not the best book of all time, but it was fun. And actually, I think I said that was the last one I've already read, but I forgot about this one. It was further down in the pile. It's V. Schwab's debut. It's called The Near Witch. Not my favourite V. Schwab book, but that does not mean that it is bad. If it was my first V. Schwab book I'd ever read, I actually really enjoyed it. It's only because I have so many other things to compare it to. But I did enjoy this. It's also quite short, so shouldn't take you too long to get through. And yeah, definitely has witches in there. It's literally called The Near Witch. Do I need to say more? This headpiece is getting very hot. A couple more that I have got on my radar to read. First one, again being linked to my TBR game because Katie picked one of the books from the Practical Magic series for me to read, which is actually the prequel. It's this one. It is Rules of Magic, but it was published after Practical Magic, so I end up getting both of them out of the library. I actually need to return these soon, so I'm really hoping I can renew them because I can't just renew them on the app anymore. I'd actually have to like take them back and take them back out, and I'm hoping that I can, and I'm also hoping they come up on my prompt. I like to read things in publication order, even if like one of them is a prequel and it comes out after. I still like to read them in publication order, so I will planning on reading this one and then this one if it comes up in my TBR game. Maybe even if it doesn't come up in my TBR game, I'll just get a head start for whenever it does come up. But yeah, both of these about a family of witches. I really enjoyed the film Practical Magic, so I'm excited to see what the books are like. I then have got one that I picked up purely based on one line in the blurb, and that is The Mercies by Karen Millward Hargrave. This is a beautiful book. This is a library copy. I was in the library looking for any books that could fit the witch prompt, and this one says on the bottom of the synopsis, inspired by the real events of the Bardo Storm and the 1621 witch trials. It's inspired by witch trials. It works for witches. There we go. I haven't read anything by this author yet. I do own one of her middle grade books, and this one has been staring at me in bookshops for a while, in all fairness. So I'm excited to have this, and I will hopefully be reading it next month because it needs to go back to the library. Okay, and we have 2 more, one of which I picked up a couple of months ago when I was in London because I knew that this readathon was coming up and I thought it'd be a good quick read. It is These Witches Don't Burn. It's another YA witch story, so Again, don't know too much else about it. I know that Becca enjoyed this book. It's one of the reasons I picked it up. So hopefully I do as well. And then last but by no means least, I've been putting off reading this one because I read another book by this author in April, and I would have just read this one pretty much straight away after because I loved that one so much, but I purposely saved it for this month. I literally messaged Meg because she'd been telling me to read these books and said, Circe's a witch, right? I'm going to be reading Circe this month. It's a Greek myth retelling. Circe is a witch. I know nothing else about it, but I will be reading it. Also, I believe Circe actually appears in one of the Percy Jackson books. I'm sure somebody in comments can tell me which one. I want to say it's the second one, but I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, anything with Circe in it would work for witchy prompts. Speaking of anything that would work for witchy prompts, I will also, as I said before, be reading 5 Scarlet Witch graphic novels or comics. So yeah, those will also work. I am definitely covered on the witchy front. And the second prompt for Team Scarlet Witch is to read a book with heartbreak, because Wanda goes through a lot. And again, some of the Scarlet Witch comics that I have come in aren't going to fit for heartbreak because I specifically got the one that inspired WandaVision. So hopefully that one fits for this prompt. And then what I've done is I've just gone through my shelves and picked ones that broke my heart a little bit. Because I say for heartbreak, like you can think of it as having like romantic heartbreak in there, or it can just be those ones that really sort of broke you, because that's the sort of heartbreak that I get from books. So let's go through a few of those, shall we? These are in no particular order, by the way. So the first one I've got here is The Astonishing Colour of After by Emily X.R. Pan. This one deals with grief after the main character's mother dies, and she ends up sort of connecting with her past by visiting her grandparents. It's got this magical element to it as well, where she believes her mother is visiting her as a bird. It's a beautiful book, and it's definitely heartbreaking. I will say there are some trigger warnings to look up for this book though if you are interested in reading it. I'm going to hold this one up. It's the second one in a series, but if you know, you know. Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. We then have got The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This one features 7 marriages. There's some heartbreak along the way. I mean, you don't end up going through that many marriages without experiencing some heartbreak. Next up, we have got More Happy Than Not, History Is All You Left Me, and They Both Die at the End, all by Adam Silvera. Adam Silvera likes to break hearts. That's all I have to say. I would specifically recommend this one. It's one of my favourite books of all time. History Is All You Left Me. I really, really love it. It does deal with grief. So again, definitely has heartbreak. This one also has some grief in there, and this one is literally where 2 characters die at the end. Enjoy. I'm actually planning on rereading some of these during the month because quick reads, because I've already read them. Racking up those points and being very tactical with my choices this month. We then have got We Are Not Okay by Nina LaCour. You'll notice a lot of my heartbreak ones tend to revolve around grief. Apparently that is a lot of books that I have read. That is again what this one is about. It's about a girl who's not really spoken to anyone since this traumatic event, and then her best friend comes to visit her at college, and it's a very sad book but a very beautiful book. I really like Nina LaCour's writing, so I recommend this one. Another one that if you know, you know, The Knife of Never Letting Go by Patrick Ness. This also works for Red on the Cover. This also works for another prompt from another team that goes alongside the heartbreak. And I'm not going to say what it is because it will spoil it. But if you know, you know. I love this book, but I also hate this book with a passion because of that theme. Like I said, these are in no particular order, so we've kind of got to some that I'm actually planning on reading that I haven't read yet. First one being It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. I believe this is one of her heartbreaking ones. I picked it up in the works. It was very, very cheap. I know that Colleen Hoover has a lot of books that are supposed to make you cry, and I believe when I bought this one, someone told me it would. So correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe this one, if not other Colleen Hoovers, apparently. We will see. Maybe I will actually read my first Colleen Hoover book this month. We then have got one that will also fulfill the graphic novel prompt, and that is Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds. I've actually read the prose book of this, and when I was in the library I picked this up, and it is the graphic novel version. It's basically about a boy whose brother has just been shot, and he is contemplating going and taking revenge. And he lives on a higher floor in his apartment building, so he gets in the lift to sort of go out and try and find the killers. And it's kind of about his thought process on the way down this lift, and at each different floor there's a different thing that happens that makes him kind of rethink his choices. But as I said at the beginning of it, his brother's been shot, so again, definitely some heartbreak in here. Another book that has sad moments and definitely made me cry, so I'm counting it for heartbreak, is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Again, if you've read it, you know it's a It's a beautiful book, but it definitely has its moments of heartbreak as well. I would also say Laini Taylor books tend to work for heartbreak as well. I can't say for either of these what the heartbreaking bits are, but Daughter of Smoke and Bone and Strange the Dreamer definitely both have sort of heartbreaking reveals within there, as do the sequels actually, but I just picked up the first ones in the series. And then my last recommendation is literally in the title, Once Upon a Broken Heart. I mean, it's not, I wouldn't say it's as sad as a lot of the other ones. There are moments, but it's not an overall sad book. But it all stems around someone's heart being broken. Why not? Like, it's in the title. You can't not give me this one. I just realised that was supposed to be my last one, but there's one series that I have completely missed out that I can't not say for this prompt, so bear with me 1 second. I just picked up the one that was closest to me, and it happened to be one of the most heartbreaking one in the entire series. And even from the realm of the Elderlings is heartbreaking. Robin Hobb likes to cause pain, but Fool's Fate is really bad. Basically, the Tony Man trilogy in particular is awful, but in the best way. It's probably my favourite series that I've read so far in the realm of the Elderlings, but still, gut-wrenching pain. Enjoy. So we've gone through all of my team's prompts. I am going to give a few honourable mentions to the other team's prompts. I believe some of the other captains will be doing their own videos, and like I said, I don't know why you would have chosen another team, but just in case you did, I'm going to help you out a little bit as well. I'm not going to go and grab these books because I've already got way too many books out. I'm going to insert pictures here. But for Team Black Panther, you have got the prompt of animals, which is read a book with an animal companion. Now, actually, I can grab this one because it is right behind me. Jem asked for help on this prompt, and my first thought was Mr. Kindly from Nevernight. There you go. I'm sure there are plenty of others, but my first thought for an animal companion is definitely Mr. Kindly. We then have got read a book featuring African culture. One of my favourite books that I've read in recent years was A Song of Race and Ruin by Roseanne A. Brown. I actually need to read the sequel, but I can't read it this month because it doesn't fit my prompts. But yeah, I did really enjoy that book. So I recommend anyone on that team that's thinking of something to read, pop that one on your TBR. Team Black Widow, you've got read a book with a murder plot point. I recently read How to Kill Your Family by Bella Mackey, and I really enjoyed it, and it's a really quick read. So I'm going to recommend that one to you guys. And then we also have Russian, which is to read a book with Russian folklore, and this is another one that I can grab because it is just behind me as well. Again, Lisa was looking for recommendations. My first thought for this one was Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden, and this is all inspired by Russian folklore. You have 3 of them to read, increasing your TBR for you. For Team Loki, this is actually one where I find it a little bit harder for one of the prompts. We've got Norse, which is to read a book featuring Norse culture or Norse mythology. I know obviously you can get those books that are retelling of Norse mythology stories, but basically I haven't actually read anything that fits this prompt that I can think of. The other one that's springing to mind is one of the Rick Riordan books. I think it's the Magnus Chase series. As you can see, I'm very limited in my recommendations for this, but I'm sure Becca's got you covered on this because she's normally very good at giving recommendations. So head over in her direction if you would like some recommendations for this one. And then we've got Siblings, which is to read a book with sibling relationships. Again, there are plenty to choose from, but seeing as though the TV shows come out recently and everyone's loving it anyway, why not say Heartstopper or Solitaire? Either of those by Alice Oseman, and you've got Charlie and Tori in there, which is an adorable sibling relationship. And then finally we've got Team Shang-Chi, which is first to read a book with Asian culture or themes. Again, there are plenty of these. Some of my favourites are actually on this shelf just below me that you can't see, and it's too awkward for me to get those books out. But 2 of my favourite series is the Poppy War series by R.F. Wang and the Greenbone Saga by Fonda Lee. Either of those would definitely work for this. And then we've got Dragon, which is to read a book with a dragon on the cover or in the story. So again, I'm going to recommend some pain. Read Robin Hobb. Dragons feature a lot in the realm of the Elderlings, particularly in the later ones. If you're up to like the Rainwild Chronicles at the minute, that's great for you. There are so many dragons in those books, but they do feature briefly pretty much throughout all of them. Even if it's just mentioned that they existed previously, they are in this world. So I would say that Dragons works for any of the Elderling books really. Right, I think I've covered everything. That is all of the prompts. I spoke for a lot longer than I expected to about this. Obviously, there are so many other recommendations I could give. I've just kind of pulled stuff off my shelves that caught my eye. But if you guys have recommendations, I would love to hear them. So please leave them in the comments down below. I'm also going to leave a link to the Twitter for Marvelathon because I'm guessing that Lisa's probably going to share like any videos or anything that people post with their TBRs. We can all get ideas from there. There is also a Discord that you can join where people are sharing their TBRs on there. So let's all just get ideas from each other and let's get those points for Team Scarlet Witch, because I'm assuming that anyone that's here by now has made the right decision. Right, that is everything. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff down below, and I will see you guys next time with a new video. Bye.